WTIM.
Good morning. You're listening to WTIM, your information station, and our WTIM morning show brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman, and joining us in this segment, we've got State Senator Steve McClure. Steve, good morning to you. How are you, sir?
Good morning, Grayson. I'm well. Good to be with you.
Glad to have you, and thank you for joining us here today to talk a little bit about a whole lot of things that we want to get into. And the first thing, I kind of want to pick your brain and hear what you have to say about the redistricting, congressional maps, everything in between, and all the fight that's kind of gone on the national stage, but also here in Illinois has happened already, and districts are already drawn. But just wondering, how do you feel about the situation right now? Where do you stand with redistricting here in Illinois and across the country?
Well, I was on the redistricting committee in the Senate, and essentially what happened was that the governor and the Senate Democrats and the Senate and the House Democrats decided to, behind closed doors, draw maybe the most gerrymandered district map in the entire country. And so, it's just the most bizarre experience to watch Governor Pritzker call the people in Texas that are legislators and have them come to Illinois because Texas wants to draw a very gerrymandered map. And, I'm not sure you could pick a worse example of a map than our state. And what's interesting is that when Governor Pritzker ran for office, he promised that he was not going to sign a gerrymandered map. He was going to only sign a map that was drawn by some sort of independent commission. He was not going to draw a map, or he's not going to sign a map that was drawn by politicians. And the thing is that the moment that the very gerrymandered map was crafted and sent to him, he signed it right away without hesitation. And now he's going on national television and making jokes about it as if it's some sort of ridiculous thing, even though he promised that it was not going to be a ridiculous thing. He promised it was going to be a legitimate, fairly drawn map. And so, what a joke for him to go out and tout that if Texas is going to draw this map, he's even said that he may make changes to the Illinois map, except for the fact that our map is so gerrymandered that if he were to try to squeeze another Democrat district, what would most likely happen is that he would be padding it too thinly. There wouldn't be enough Democrats to go around, and that actually might help Republicans by giving us more of a chance to win in quite a few seats. So it's just bizarre, and Governor Pritzker does anything he can to get national attention. And certainly on these maps, he has no place to talk at all. But here we are, and it's pretty ridiculous.
Well, and you dropped a couple nuggets there that we didn't know about, or at least on this end, I did not know about. One, that you were a part of said committee, but two, that when he came into office, that he had promised not to sign a new redistricting map or a new map that had been drawn up. I think evidenced by that serpent belt, we'll call it, or the serpent district, the one that cuts right across the state of Illinois. What is going on with that? And then also providing kind of like a sanctuary almost for some of those Texas representatives to come here. Very, very interesting. Do you think when Texas does make their move for that congressional map and the redistricting of their map, do you think Illinois will respond at this point in time?
I don't think so, because our state constitution says you can only do a map every 10 years. Now, here's something that's weird. When Governor Pritzker, by the way, so Governor Pritzker is not just criticizing Texas for wanting to gerrymander, which, as I said, Governor Pritzker has the most gerrymandered map in the country. But he's also criticizing them for doing it more than once in a 10-year span, because Governor Pritzker wants a map to be crafted once every 10 years just to adjust everything based on the census. Well, Governor Pritzker's forgetting to mention when he talks about that he actually signed two maps into law, because Illinois crafted a map before the census was released, because the census was delayed because of COVID. And so the Democrats used very inaccurate population data to craft one map, and the governor signed it into law. And then And then once we got the census data, signed a second map into law. And so that actually against the state constitution, which says 10 years in Illinois. And so the Senate Republicans and other entities were part of lawsuits to say, you can't do that because the state constitution says once every 10 years, not twice every 10 years. And our partisan Supreme Court in the state, unfortunately, sided with Governor Pritzker. And Governor Pritzker, as everybody knows, donated over $1 million to each two Supreme Court justices who won re-election on the Supreme Court or won election to the Supreme Court. So the whole system's really failed the state of Illinois. And, everything that Governor Pritzker is criticizing Texas for, he is not just guilty of, he took it to a whole nother level.
Man, to know that on top of it, obviously you'd mentioned that he'd said he wouldn't do it in his term or as time as governor, but then to know that it already happened twice on top of it is almost even worse. So I don't want to hold you up here and talking about redistricting the whole time, but thank you for your information behind the scenes on that as well. And I do want to give you some shine here as you had two new bills that were signed into law. What were those bills and how important and how proud of you are getting those bills signed?
Thanks for mentioning them. So the first one that was signed was a bill that was brought to me by a constituent who has multiple sclerosis. Excuse me if I can talk. What she was telling me was that she had to go into the Secretary of State's office frequently to get her disabled parking pass, her placard, her license plate renewed. And when she has to go do that, she has to prove that she still has a disability, even though her disability is permanent. And we've got various reports from people. Some people say that they have to come in every year to prove that. Another person said they come in every 3 years to prove that. So I thought, you shouldn't be having to come in that frequently if your disability is permanent, to just prove that you're permanently disabled still. And so my bill, which has now been signed into law, says that if you are permanently disabled, you only have to come in to verify that once every 5 years. And so to me, that made sense. And if we can try to, make the lives easier for people rather than more difficult, I think we should try to do that. And it benefits disabled people who need these placards. It benefits their family members who need these placards in some cases. And it also makes the lines at DMVs a little bit shorter. And it also makes it so that the Secretary of State's office has to deal with a little bit less paperwork. So I just thought it was a win all around. And I think I think people will benefit from that bill. And it cuts through red tape as well. And I just thought it made a lot of sense to pass the bill. So I'm thankful for my constituent who had the idea. And I'm thankful that we were able to get it passed through both houses that the governor signed it.
I'm glad to hear that, and I'm with you. It sounds like a win-win for all involved. Making the DMV a more pleasant experience certainly would be something of note there. And so just kind of reducing that line and not bringing somebody in with a permanent disability. We've touched on that before, but knowing that that's been signed into law is great to hear. What about that other bill that was signed into law? What can you tell us there?
Sure. So I live a very rural district, and we have a lot of cemeteries in the district, and current law only allows for the one person within the township to appoint the cemetery board. Well, the problem with that is that many townships don't have that person working in the township. And so what I did was make an alternative choice for township officials to make a cemetery board appointment. So this bill says that if there's a township collector or township supervisor, either one can make the appointment for a cemetery board. In the past, if you only had one, in some cases you could not make the appointment for a cemetery board because that was the only position that you could use to make the appointment. And so I think it's really important, especially for some of our cemeteries that are falling apart, that we have local officials taking care of the cemeteries. And under previous law, if the local township didn't have this official, then the county treasurer would make the appointment. The problem with that is county treasurers in many instances don't know what's happening locally. And so, like think about how many townships Cook County has, for example. The county treasurer is supposed to appoint cemetery boards for each one of these townships. That didn't really make sense. And that's not just true in Cook County, that's true across the state. So it was confusing, and the county is making some appointments, and in some cases, counties didn't even realize that the county treasurer made those appointments, so county boards are making those appointments, which is not authorized by law. So my bill cuts through the confusion, makes sure that local cemetery boards are picked by local officials, and I think that's best for everyone to make sure that our cemeteries are taken care of. And that was also signed into law, and that was also an idea that was brought to me by a constituent in the district. So 2 good bills that were passed. Both were ideas from constituents, and now I think both of them will make the laws of the state work a little bit better for the people of Illinois.
You said cut the confusion there, and it sounds like it, especially if boards and treasurers didn't know who was assigning what. And not only that, then like you mentioned also all the cemeteries kind of in disrepair at this moment, especially on a local basis. Yeah, we've got to have some of those taken care of more properly, and hopefully it will do just that. Well, Senator McClure, thank you for spilling the beans on those 2 new bills, as well as your thoughts on redistricting and some of the congressional map concerns across the nation right now. Let's take ourselves a break. We're joined by State Senator Steve McClure here on the WTIM Morning Show. We'll come back around with him, talk a little bit about these energy prices and an important day that we're trying to make happen here in Illinois. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
Your information station. WTIM.
Set your sights on a strong school year. SIU Center for Family Medicine in Taylorville is here to help your child start smart with a back to school or sports physical. Healthy kids learn better and play harder. Appointments are quick and convenient, so you can check it off your list with confidence. Call 217-545-8000 to schedule. That's 217-545-8000, or click their icon on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. SIU Center for Family Medicine in Taylorville, moving health forward for you.
We count every calorie, weigh every grape, and track every step.
We run 5Ks, freeze off fat, and cram kale through the juicer.
I guess you could say we're obsessed with our health.
But what about the health of your furnace?
You know, your Flappy Furnace hasn't exercised in at least 6 months.
But soon, it'll be running nonstop.
That furnace of yours isn't getting any younger.
As time goes by, stuff starts breaking down.
I don't know about you, but I can certainly relate.
So it's a good time to save with a preseason tune-up and safety check from Jansen's Heating and Air.
Our talented technicians test, tighten, lubricate, and recombobulate the moving parts so everything's ready on the first frigid day.
And it may add more time to your senior system's lifespan.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go put my burger in the blender.
Why?
I hear it's healthier that way.
Schedule your preseason tune-up and safety check today.
Call Jansen's Heating and Air, 562-5201.
JansensHeating.com.
Hi, this is John Wright, 4th generation owner from Wright's Furniture here in Taylorville.
And I'm Alex Wright. For 135 years, we've been known for so much more than offering the best in local quality home furnishings.
We're rooted in our community and committed to giving back the place we're so proud to call home. Because that's where our hearts have always been, and this is where we'll always be.
Faces you know.
People you can trust. Wright's, the first name in home furnishings.
Visit us today or at wrightsfurniture.com.
Finding a local job in Central Illinois has never been easier. Don't waste time driving far or spending too much on gas. Visit IllinoisJobPost.com. It's your one-stop site to find local, full-time, and part-time job openings. Best of all, it's completely free for job seekers to access anytime, day or night. So if you're ready to land a job close to home, make IllinoisJobPost.com your first stop. That's IllinoisJobPost.com. Brought to you by your friends at the regional radio station.
At People's Bank and Trust, they help their consumer and business customers spend their time living their life, not explaining it. At People's Bank and Trust, they put people first. Find out how they can help you by clicking their banner ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Robinson from Advanced Title. Whether selling your home on your own or through your local realtor, please give us a call at 824-8007 for all your title work needs.
WTIM.
And we're back with the WTIM Morning Show here on your information station and brought to you by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first and Landmark of Taylorville. I'm your host, Grayson Bauman. Joining us in this segment, we've got State Senator Steve McClure. We talked a little bit about redistricting and his two new bills that have been signed into law. We want to turn our attention now to Jim Lovell. And I'm going to let Steve take it away from here. Jim Lovell, why is that name so important, and why do some folks maybe still not know about him?
So Jim Lovell was the commander of Apollo 13, and for those listeners that have watched that movie, he was played by Tom Hanks in the movie. And of course, in real life, Jim Lovell said, Houston, we've had a problem. And in the movie, Tom Hanks the script changed it to Houston, we have a problem. And before actually Jim Lovell was the commander of Apollo 13, he was actually aboard Apollo 8. And Apollo 8 was him and two other astronauts, and they left Earth and they orbited the moon. It was the first time that any spacecraft with humans aboard had ever gone to the moon and then came back to Earth safely. And that caused him along with his fellow astronauts aboard that ship. They were the Men of the Year from in Time magazine that year. And so Jim Lovell is a very important figure in American history, but also obviously American space history, or actually not American space history, global space history. And so Jim Lovell lived in Lake Forest, Illinois. And so it's an honor to have someone like that living in our state and choosing to live in our state. And so last year, I had the honor of crafting a resolution in the Senate to honor Jim Lovell with Jim Lovell Day. And I worked with Senator Morrison on that legislation. And I got to travel to Lake Forest to go inform Jim Lovell of the honor and to present him a copy of the resolution so he could read it and so his family could frame it wherever they wanted to do. So it was really, really cool to get the chance to visit with him, and he was really humbled and really excited by the honor. And it passed the Senate, and late last year there was Jim Lovell Day, and at the nursing home where he lived, they had signs all over the place saying Happy Jim Lovell Day, and they had Chicago television in the nursing home that day to interview him. And so it was really, really cool to get the chance to do that. And I worked with his daughter, Susan, on, getting the word out about Jim Lovell Day and stuff like that. So that was a really cool thing to be a part of. And unfortunately, Jim Lovell passed away recently, but I just thought it was pretty cool that we could honor him in the state of Illinois while he was still alive. And, obviously my condolences to Captain Lovell's family, but it was quite the experience. And, oftentimes we've got heroes in our state and heroes across the country and heroes everywhere where you can't really, they don't get honored the way that they should be honored. I'll just put it that way. And it was just nice to be able to honor Jim Lovell while he was still alive, and it was great to be a part of it.
I'm sure. And, for you to have been able to do that while he was still alive and give that honor or be a part of giving that honor to him, I mean, that's a big deal. You see a lot of times folks make it to the Hall of Fame or whatever else, and they've already since passed. And so to be able to do that before he did so, I think means that much more. Well, Steve, we're just about out of time here. Where can folks go to get more information on you and everything that you've got going on?
They can always go to senatormcclure.com. And on Facebook, my page is just search Senator Steve McClure for my official government page. And if anybody needs to get a hold of me, all my contact information is on the website. You can email me or call me, and we'll get back to you. And certainly if anybody needs to meet with me or talk to me personally, just let my office know, and we'll make sure that happens.
You got it. Well, Steve, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you so much.
You got it. Steve McClure, state senator for Illinois, the 54th district, I think. Is that correct, Steve? All right. Well, we lost him. You're listening to WTIM, your information station.
The Big 870 WTIM.